UFC 300 is absolutely stacked, so I linked up with my man Aaron from the Pretty Neat podcast. For each matchup that we chose, we talk about our picks to win, any bets that we think could cash, and any cards that we want or have of the fighters. As always, I hope you enjoy this video. All right, I've got Aaron back. Aaron, the last time we were together, we absolutely blew up UFC 279. So you remember that? The
Yeah.
entire card fell apart. So hopefully that doesn't happen again with 300. But
No.
we're here to talk some picks. Aaron, you want to plug anything before we get into all this, man?
Oh man, just check out the Pretty Neat podcast where we talk about UFC and other pretty neat things. It's going to be hockey playoffs soon, so we're getting into that. We're always talking basketball. Dom is a 20-year Angels season ticket holder, so
Wow.
he's
He's a
stoked.
diehard.
Yeah, he is, and although he has some less than kind words to say about the Angels in the last couple of years, but yeah, we talk baseball, football, Star Wars, Lord of the Rings. We are
The
everything.
fellowship, right?
Yep, yeah, that's what we call our base of about 450 followers on Spotify now. And
Nice, man.
yeah,
Growing quick.
yeah, pick us up wherever you download your podcast. The Pretty Neat Podcast.
All right, man. Let's get into it. This is UFC 300 that we'll be talking about here. I just picked a bunch of random matchups that I thought were interesting, both stylistically as far as fights and as far as card collecting goes. So for each of these fights, we will talk about who we think is going to win, why they think they're going to win. I know you guys like to talk about betting and odds, so if you want to mention any of that as well, that'd be sweet. And then we can talk cards for the specific fighters that we're talking about. So first up, we've got Jalen Turner versus Moicano. Um, the odds that I saw, correct me if I'm wrong, I think it was negative 238 for Turner and 195 plus for Moicano. So they seem like Turner's going to be, should be pretty dominant in this. What are kind of your thoughts? How do you think that one's going to play out?
Yeah, we think Turner's gonna win. I think Turner's gonna win. Moicano has a couple of things going for him. He's tough, he's been around a long time. He knows how the game works. He's got a very solid fight IQ. But Jalen Turner, I think, has more tools. So I think he's just gonna outclass, outclass is gonna beat outlast this time around. But if Moicano wins, then maybe his Hanato Carnero cards will go up in
Dude,
value since they went back
yeah.
in his name.
I wrote that in the card section. I was like, what is up? That was so confusing to me. I don't like when they like keep flopping back and forth. Do you think he did that? Do you think it was the actual manufacturer? What do you think was that about?
From what I saw, he did that because Moicano is his nickname and
Right.
Carnero is his actual name. So he wanted cards with his actual name on it. Not that he doesn't like his nickname or anything, but
Right.
apparently that's what it was. But then nobody knew who the fuck that was.
Yeah, I was like, I think this is Moicano's face. Why does it say Carniero on it? Yeah,
Yeah.
that was funny, man. Yeah, no, I agree. I think Turner, one, I've been a pretty big fan of his from the jump, just because we're both tall, skinny guys. I got to root for the tall, skinny guy whenever there's a fight. I think, we saw him fight with Gamrot, and Gamrot is an incredible wrestler. And I think if Moicano was to win this fight, it would be with, the grappling aspect. I don't think he can stand and bang with Turner with the reach advantage. I think the kick advantage is going to be pretty high here as well with the length on the legs. And we've seen Moicano get absolutely starched. When I was looking up, some stats, he got KO'd by Zombie, he got KO'd by Aldo, he got KO'd by Fazid. Now, this was a couple of years ago. He's definitely made some improvements, but I think we're looking at hopefully another really good Turner performance. Speaking of Jalen Turner's performances, the Bobby Green KO, what do you remember?
hmm
That one was nasty, dude.
hmm
That one was nasty.
He's violent. He's scary. Like the tarantula is the perfect nickname for him. And yeah, I just think it's gonna be destructive. And
Oh,
I
that
think
that that'd be
he's gonna
perfect.
prove a point. He's gonna prove a point, and I think he needs to.
He does,
Yeah,
man.
odds right now on him are minus 245, plus 200 for Moicano, and I think that's
Oh, okay.
appropriate.
Nice.
I think if anybody was going to be betting on this fight, uh, rather than take that massive favorite, it'd be probably wiser to go with like an over 60, over 70 significant strikes because they're gonna probably bang.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I would think if it plays out in Turner's favor, which we kind of agree that it will probably go that way, he's probably going to throw more than 60.
And Moicano could take it. Like that's why I think is
Yeah,
less likely that he'll just get one punch knocked out.
agreed. We got to end off the card segment. We got the Jalen Turner Gold rookie over here, the 2022
Yeah.
Select Premier level SGC 10. That was probably my favorite card from his rookie year run. He had a couple of nice autos in Immaculate. Um, I don't
hmm
have any of Moicano. Do you have any of those guys?
No, I have none. And I mean, Moicano's cards go back
Hmm.
so far now. Like I remember ripping like a 2019 tops when they had him before, and like a 1974, I think, where it had red, white, and blue and stars on it and stuff.
Oh, nice.
But yeah, that's it. I mean, he's just been around for a long time. But yeah, Tarantula has some solid autos. I love that he jumped into the autograph game so early. It
Yeah,
felt for a long time like you couldn't rip a box without finding a Jalen Turner auto.
agreed. All right. So next up, in the bunch of fights we got for UFC 300, I thought this was interesting just because Diego Lopes is, pretty much one of the main chases for this year's rookie class. So we got Sodiq Yusuff versus Diego Lopes. Correct me if I'm wrong on all these odds, just as we go ahead. Plus 124 for Yusuff, about minus 150 for Lopez. What are your thoughts on this matchup?
I think that's appropriate. I think this is a coin flip.
Yep.
Um, I think that Sadiq will land something good on Diego, who just has really high output. He throws a lot of strikes. But Diego finds a way to win. He comes back if he's rocked. He's just one of those guys where the more you punish him, the tougher he gets. Uh, and he's got great submissions too. I think that Diego Lopez is gonna win this, probably by submission. I think like a rear naked choke,
Okay.
likely in like the second or third round. But Sadiq, with that output, he could nail Diego and just lay down ground and pound and finish it from there. But yeah, I like Diego in this one, and I think we all picked Diego on the Pretty Neat podcast also.
Nice, man. Yeah, I agree with your early sentiment in that, which was like this was a close fight, a coin flip fight. That's kind of how I feel about it as well. This one's interesting to me because it's just for stylistic wise. You have Sodiq, who seems to be a little bit more technical, and then you have Diego, who, like you said, just constantly goes for finishes and marches forward. He kind of reminds me
hmm
a little bit of Olives. I don't know if it's like lengthwise, but also in the way that he gets stunned and has like a
hmm
crazy submission threat. So I'm
hmm
interested to see how his career plays out in that aspect. Man, I usually go with the more technical guy in matchups like this. I think Sadiq's going to be able to avoid a lot of the danger, and he has a pretty good fight IQ. And I think he's going to look to counter off of that aggression. I don't really know how. I think this could go to a decision,
Yeah,
but again, coin flip, man, kind of picking hairs on who I think would win.
yeah.
So,
And I
so
think if it goes to decision, I give it to Sadiq probably.
Yeah. Are there any cool bets or are you just going to go straight up on this one? What are your thoughts with that?
On this one, I think we kind of stayed away from it. I think I laid down one parlay on Diego Lopez just to win, uh,
Yeah.
just a straight on Prize Picks, but that's it. Yeah, and that's really more because I like Diego.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
The fans definitely love him. I mean, there's a lot. He's a super exciting, so I can see why they do.
yeah, yeah. So that's pretty much it on that one.
What's your thoughts on the just flipping into card talk? What's your thoughts on the 20 him being like the pretty much one of the main chases for the 2024 class?
I like it, mostly because it took all of the heat off of the fluffy cards. Like I like Anthony Hernandez. He's like my
Mhm.
favorite, like I don't want to hot prospect this year, and he's slowly becoming a contender. And Diego is exciting. So I mean, I feel like there that if you're in the card flipping trade, for sure, that you're hoping that he gets that big highlight reel win because he's totally capable of doing that, but not necessarily putting him in championship status where he'll have maintained value over a long time.
Right.
So I think that the hype right now is betting on him to win this fight spectacularly and then flip. But if people buying and paying marked up chase prices on it,
Big prices.
yeah, I think that that is a mistake because if Sadiq just decisions him, all of that steam is
Hmm.
gone. But yeah, I get it. He's really fun to watch. So
Hmm.
it's like early highlight, you know?
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat where I was kind of surprised, honestly, that he had this much traction. Now, granted, this is like it's pretty deflated class of rookies, if we're being honest.
Yeah,
But I'm surprised he got, is selling for these prices, especially since we've already seen him lose against Mobzar. Now, granted, that was short notice. It was a pretty close fight, and he's definitely, one of the top guys in the division. But to see that, we've already seen him lose against, a top five guy and he's gotten rocked a couple times stylistically. I think he makes too many mistakes to really get into like the GOAT category. So I'm kind of staying away from him. But
sure.
anything can happen. And I think the flip play on him would be really nice right now because people are, spending big prices.
Hmm.
All right, man. Next up, we got one that I'm really excited for this one just to see how this plays out. We've got Calvin Kattar versus Aljo. Aljo at -170, Kattar at +140. What's your thoughts on this one?
I think that that's appropriately. I think that that betting line is appropriate. Aljamain is a champ. You know, he's a former champ. He earned it. He won his fight with Piotr, like he redeemed himself after the DQ taking of the belt. Um, he's solid. I really think that if he put on the weight appropriately, which I think he has had enough time to do,
And he's
uh,
already a huge guy. He had monster cuts.
yeah, their reach is almost identical. They're like an inch
Hmm.
apart. So the he'll be a lot shorter than Cater, but
Right.
like his ape index makes it a
Hmm.
match, right? Like his the length of his arms versus his height. And he's gonna strike just as much as Cater is, and he trains with Marab. Like I always kind of come back to that. He trains with Marab and he trains out of Longo's gym. And Longo had the right plan in place for Weidman to beat Silva, which was overextend your punches. You know, that's the whole game plan with Silva. So I think they'll have a really good game plan, and it should be to wrestle Cater
Yep.
because Cater will is a bigger opponent than Aljo has probably faced in a long time, and he will hit harder. Like my personal feeling on this is that if Aljamain doesn't wrestle, that Cater will knock him out. That is what I believe will happen. So I think if you're gonna take any bets on Aljamain Sterling versus Calvin Cater, it is over on takedowns
Hmm.
because Aljamain should get 3 to 5 takedowns in this fight. Even if he can't finish it down there, he's gonna backpack Cater and control him until he gets the UD.
Yep. I mean, this is a one of those like polar opposite matchups, right? You have a guy his game plan has to be to try and take Cater down. Cater's got good boxing. I don't really when I was looking at the matchups, I've never really seen him face a heavy grappler before. So this is kind of, I think, untested waters for Cater. He's fought a lot of
Hmm.
good strikers, and he's done well in some of those matchups. He's
Yeah.
coming off that ACL tear, so that's
Hmm.
always an interesting one. How did that heal? You got a lot of time away from the skill aspect of the sport because you can't explode off that leg. You mentioned the height differential between Aljo and Cater, and I think whenever you're grappling against or wrestling against a shorter guy, they get to your legs a little bit quicker. So that's almost a benefit in the grappling aspect of Aljo. Um,
Hmm.
So I'd probably pick Aljo here, but again, when you're going up a weight class, anything could happen. So what do you think on betting wise on this one? I don't know if I'd put any money down on anything, but the takedown play is definitely a good one.
Yeah, that's pretty much the only one I would put on it is a takedown play. And if you're really feeling saucy, cater by KO.
Yeah. What do you have the odds on that? What are the odds on that one?
I don't have it in front of me, but I'm sure it's probably like a plus 600.
Yeah, pretty high.
Yeah.
Nice, man. What card wise, you got anything for these guys? I ended up getting I'll flash it on the screen, all the cards that we talk about. I ended up getting the Aljo True Rookie Gold, which was up, I believe I didn't write it down, but I believe it's of 75. And
Hmm.
that was stupid cheap, and it was basically at the height of his run. And it was like 35 bucks for a numbered 8.5 SGC true rookie. So do you have any cards for these guys?
He's under respected. Like I really think the way he won the belt tarnished his whole image,
Hmm.
even though it was probably legit. But realistically, he's solid. If he can demonstrate some real uh, prowess in this fight and make a climb at featherweight, I think that everything about his value should go up. But age is a factor. He's
Yeah,
34. He's
that's
34
right at
years
the end,
old.
man.
It's going to be really hard for him, especially at featherweight, to make
Hmm.
any sort of run at the belt within the next 2 to 3 years. And so for me, like, grab his cards, get him, because I think he'll still be a Hall of Famer. He
Yeah.
still will. And as long as he doesn't lose and retire, then keep his cards. They're gonna do well eventually. And Calvin Kattar too, he's 36. So like he's not in it for the belt anymore. He's in
Hmm.
it for the paycheck. And if he manages a highlight reel knockout of Aljamain, awesome. I don't even think I can. I don't think I've seen like inserts of Calvin Kattar at this point. So maybe
Yeah.
we'll see some in the next run with a
Yeah.
good victory.
He definitely needs something. I think, yeah, like you agreed, coming off the ACL tear, he's had a couple, took some damage in a couple fights as of late as well. You mentioned the new weight class and kind of I don't know. I wanted to hear your thoughts on this. Okay, so we've got the absolute Shark Tank that is bantamweight. Is it
Mhm.
insane to say Aljo's road is a little easier in the featherweight? I mean, we've got Yair, we've got Holloway, and Ortega and Volk. I feel like Aljo could out grapple Volk. Maybe Ortega, the submission's tough. Holloway, Yair, for sure, he's going to out grapple those guys if he can get to them. So, what are your thoughts on the landscape of him in this new weight class?
I think his only barrier might be some of the more submission threat guys like your T Cities. I
Yeah.
think he'd have a interesting fight with him. I think he could handle some of the footwork of a Max Holloway if he stays there. And yeah, there's not a lot of super grappling heavy featherweights anymore that I can think of. Hey, put him against, well, I was going to say Islam. No thanks. Um, and he's also a weight class higher. But yeah, I think he would probably fare very well if he keeps to the wrestling. If he tries to go out there and strike with people, though,
Yeah,
I think
no,
he'll be in trouble.
big
Yeah.
time. Yeah, I think Volk and Topuria would probably be able
Yeah.
to neutralize his grappling, and you don't want to stand with those guys. But I was
No.
looking, I was like, man, besides those two guys, I feel like he's
I
got some
think
pretty good matchups.
yeah, he'd handle Yair pretty well. Is Bryce Mitchell a featherweight?
Yep.
Yeah, I would like to see that maybe after Cater if he can get through Cater. And
I think
then
Aljo would
maybe
absolutely wipe the floor with Mitchell. I mean, I think
I
he's
do too.
probably a better striker because Mitchell, is not known for anything strike wise,
Except
and
getting
he
hit by them.
that's true, except having seizures in the cage. Man, that was
Yeah,
rough. That was rough to watch too.
yeah.
All right, man. Next up,
Mm,
we got this one's good. I think this is gonna be crazy. We've got Yuri versus Rakic. This one is a coin flip. Yuri plus 102 is what, something around there, and Rakic at negative 122. So basically a pick 'em fight. What's your thoughts?
Tactician versus wild man. You know, I think that this is going to be a really I was gonna say short fight. I do think that this one is probably under a round and a half, and it's going to be, is Yuri exposed? Is Yuri exposed? You can't stop once you rock him. That's the
Hmm.
only thing we got, is he's gonna put his chin down because he's going to always be attacking. And Rakic n- maybe not understands that and can approach it appropriately. He just has to find the right spot, and I think it's a matter of how fast he does it. Of course, he's coming off a long
Hmm.
layoff with the injury, but I think he's the dark horse at light heavyweight. I think with a knockout of Yuri Prohaska, then he is the next in line for the belt.
I agree. I think if either of these guys have a KO performance or a really good fight that the fans like, I think you're right. They're fighting the winner of Poatan Hill. Man,
Mhm.
I want to see Yuri winning this. My heart just I want him to be the champion, dude. Like everything about him, the mythos, the weirdness, the style. Like I just feel like he would be a perfect champion for this weight class. But like you said, something about watching the Rakic and Jan Blachowicz fight, man. Like that guy is so technical. He uses distance well. He's long. I mean, these guys are both
Mhm.
absolutely massive. He has power. He's fast.
Mhm.
Is the weirdness of Yuri, is he going to be able to get inside and land shots? Like, I really hope so. I
I do
definitely
too.
would. I would not want to pick anything with this fight because it's just too. There's with Yuri, he's either going to knock somebody out or he's going to get absolutely starched, and it's too
Mhm.
chaotic for me to even try and pick who's going to win this one.
Yeah, if you're doing like the Underdog app or something like that, the only pick I think you can make that is wise for this fight is that it will not go to decision.
Yeah.
That is the only pick, the only bet you should make on this fight is that it won't go to decision. But I agree with you. I think that Yuri as the champ would be fantastic. I would love to see him rise back up and maybe even get that rematch with Pereira if Pereira is successful.
Yes, I
And
100%. I need to see that get ran back because I
maybe it
shoot
was
me, shoot,
early.
shoot me if I'm wrong. I'm in the it was a little early camp, but I'd love to see that one get ran back again.
I would too. And the only reason I really would pull for Rakic in this case is Ryan, one of the three hosts on the Pardini podcast, picked Alexander to be the light heavyweight champion at the end of this calendar year. Every calendar year, we pick who we think will be all the
Ah,
champions
that's
at
fun.
the end of the year, and he picked Rakic. So.
Is this for betting? What were the odds on that?
Only against each other. Yeah,
Oh,
we
okay.
just play. Yeah, just we all
Whoever
laid
gets
out like who we think's gonna be the champ, and he picked Rakic.
nice. Card wise, I actually just picked up a 21 Chronicles Black Gold Asia of 8 rookie of Jiri, and
That's awesome.
that yeah, it was one of my few cards that I got, but it was $60. Like that's to me that's crazy, and of 8 gold rookie for that price. So I was pretty hyped about that. You got any cards of these guys?
I have a couple of Yuris. I really like his uh National Pride autos. Like I think those are excellent. He also has a lot of relic autos, and I think he has a cool signature. Like
Yeah, he
that's a big
does.
part of it. I like the way it looks. Um, and his fans, especially his Polish fans, his European fans, they they're buyers. They really are.
Yeah, he
So
has a good
it's
market.
very good market, and I don't think anything will ever kill that.
All right, we've got the return of Bo Nickel. We've got Bo Nickel versus Cody Brundage. Bo negative 1600, Brundage plus 700. How's this one gonna go?
Bo Nickel's gonna win. There's really not much else to say on it. Like this is another tomato can. They're just pumping up the Bo Nickel stock.
Yep.
Uh, the they want him to be a poster boy for the UFC for a long time, and I think they're doing it appropriately with him by giving him these people. His placement on the main card, I think, is a questionable decision.
Yeah,
Uh,
especially for this card.
yeah, especially for this card. When you have 14 fights and nine of them contain UFC champions or former champions, how do you what? Like it just
Yeah.
it's a curious decision. It makes me wonder, like, does he just have the best manager on the planet?
Right.
Like that he will only be a pay-per-view fighter. Um, so for me, I he's gonna win. I expect to see that. I think it will be early. I think he'll maintain having high fantasy scores, probably first or second round. If it is the second, probably early in the second, because Cody Brundage is a guy who's going to go out there and drop his hands and bang. And that's all he's going to do. Most of his wins are first round knockouts. And that's his only path to victory. Bo Nickel does not have one path to victory. He's got wrestling, he's got a submission game, even though he doesn't have to show it, and he's got knockout power. So this should be total dominance by Bo Nickel.
Yeah, not honestly, not much to say on the X's and O's of this one. I think the odds kind of tell the story here. I mean, obviously it's a fist fight. Anything could happen. We've seen odds like this crumble, So I mean,
Hmm.
who knows at the end of the day? But yeah, I completely agree. I don't know why the UFC the people like this guy. He's likable. He has a great skill set, but putting him on the main card is like turning him almost into a villain in a way, and it's not even his fault. I don't understand why the UFC did that. He's fighting over Figgy, Aljo, and Jiri. Like that's crazy to me. Why? I mean, he could have been. People would have been just as hyped if he was, the last fight before the main card, or somewhere like I don't know. It doesn't make sense why the UFC did that, in my opinion, because some people are going to see that and they're going to have some disdain because he's fighting on the main card over all of these guys that are incredible. And so, in a way, I think it was a bad move in that sense. It's almost a negative towards him, and he didn't even really do anything wrong. Um,
Yeah, 100% agree.
you got any cards on these guys? I mean, Bo's been a huge chase. So,
Oh man, I mean, not on Cody.
is
Uh,
he even printed? I don't even
I,
know.
I don't think he's printed. If he is, buy an SSP as soon as you
Yeah,
can for $5,
yeah, the
just
101. You
in
need to pick
case.
that up.
Just in case. But if not, the Bo Nickel train, I think will keep on going. And yeah, I mean, I had a a red of 175 or something sell for like 15-20 bucks. And like if you're selling something in the hundreds on the print
Yeah.
for 20 bucks or more, then you know that there's something there. And even
Was that for
his
this year or for his
it's
rookie?
for last his rookie year.
Oh, okay.
I think it was his rated rookie actually. But yeah, his immaculate cards selling for 100, 200 plus on a base auto makes sense. If he could slowly rise to dominance, and if he's a champion in 2026, we'll say he becomes champ. Uh, his cards from 2023, 2022 are going to be way more in value and just skyrocket. So, yeah, he's one of those guys that could rise slowly and then maintain. And I like that about him. So, yeah, I think he's going to win and I think he's going to do it dominantly and his cards are going to win too.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I got a rated rookie of his, the Pink Velocity, and I mentioned this
Ooh.
on another show. I actually sold it like a week after that product dropped, but the guy canceled on the payment, so I'm stuck. I'm trying to sell it again, and I don't know, man. For me, it's just his prices are way too high for his body of work at this point. I mean, we literally haven't really seen anything from him table wise. So we obviously know he's a great wrestler, but MMA wrestling is not wrestling. Like it's drastically different. We've seen that over and over again with these matchups how it plays out. So yeah, I'm trying to sell that. Hopefully he wins. spectacular fashion, I can get rid of this pink velocity, get my money, and
Mm-hmm.
put it towards one of the goats or another product or something like that.
Yeah, and if you're auctioning it off, list it tomorrow.
Yeah.
Get that full time across the mid spectrum of the fight.
Hmm. Nice. All right, next up, we got another. I mean, this thing is just full of like fun matchups. So I love it. We got
Ridiculous.
Olives versus Arman Sarukian. Um, I was surprised on these odds, and let me know what you found for odds. I got Olives plus 185, Arman negative 225. Is that around what you guys were seeing too?
Yeah, yeah,
That
they
that's crazy.
really
That's crazy to me.
I think it's crazy too. And I believe all of us on the Pretty Neat podcast picked Olives to win this. Like we just he has so many tools. He has so many tools. He's got the most finishes in the UFC. He has the most submissions in the UFC. I think he has the most wins in the UFC, if not pretty close. And he's 34. You know, he's not
Yeah,
aged out yet. He's
still in his
only
prime.
yeah, and he's only ever lost recently to big big contenders like or champions. So for me, the only reason these odds I think can be how they are is if they expect a Topuria Volkanovski situation where Arman just knocks him out. And I mean, Avera gets rocked, he gets
Yeah.
dropped, and with the wrong ref, that could be stopped early, even though he is the most dangerous when he is on the ground. So I feel like if Arman does touch him and puts him to the ground, that I hope there's a solid ref in there who's not going to stop it unless he is out cold, because that would be the crappiest way for this fight to end,
Right.
would be a rocked Oliveira and an early stoppage. Um, I think that we'll be fine. I think the refs will be on it at 300 and understand that all of these people are uber professionals of the highest caliber and that they should be giving them every chance to win that they can. So for me, I think Oliveira wins this and I think he wins it by submission.
Nice. Yeah, this one, the odds were surprising. If I was gonna put a bet on this, I probably would pick Olives. I mean, it's basically gonna,
Plus money.
it's plus money, which is crazy. It is tough for me to pick because I can see, obviously you can see the two camps playing out two victories, but I was thinking to myself, is Arman a better striker than Gaethje? Is Arman a better striker than Poirier? To me, the answer is no. And we saw
Mm-hmm.
Olives outlast those guys, outstrike those guys, and then get those dubs. So I kind of
Mm-hmm.
think the same thing could play out here. The only difference being if Arman does flash Olives, which happens a lot, he's going to follow him to the ground and he's going to absolutely smash him because his
Yeah.
ground and pound is some of the best that I've seen in the past couple of years. So
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of one of those where it's like I could definitely see it playing out both ways. But with plus 185, I feel like um, I probably would put some money on Olives if I was a bad guy. But
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and if you're not, uh, hedge that bet if you're not feeling too risky that day, take the yellow way out and hedge the bet with a flash KO for Armin,
nice.
which is probably minus money. So maybe you don't.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I wonder what the odds are thinking how this is going to finish for Armon. I mean, it's got to be a KO because I don't think
Yep.
this will go 3 rounds. I mean, Olives
I,
is pretty brash as well. So
hmm Yeah, I don't know, but I would bet on Olives by either submission or decision.
nice. You got any cards of these guys?
I like to pick up Oliveira autos from time to time. Um, best I've definitely held and possessed a gold Oliveira auto. And that is probably my favorite card that I've had, but I flipped
Nice.
it. I sold it.
Hmm.
Um, uh, yeah, he's surprisingly usually on the cheaper side in breaks and really shouldn't be. He has a massive following. And if he takes the belt back at any time, which I do think he could, um I'd love to see him fight in Brazil one more time.
Yeah, that'd be pretty sick. I mean, he's got a great resume. He's beat he was a champ for a while. He had a pretty good champ run as well. So
Hmm.
it's not like this guy is going to get forgotten. He also has a really sick signature. You know, the like scribble coming down is pretty sick.
Yeah, yeah, he does.
I got an Arman SGC9 cracked ice rookie, which I thought
Ooh.
was sick when I got it. They were one per box for that year in 2022. But then Panini went on some weird cracked ice run where they put them in retail and they were like, then there was a 101 cracked ice and then there was like the of 8 or something cracked ice. So I think that completely ruined the cracked ice market. Everyone's
Yeah.
confused on what it's even worth.
Yeah, like I feel like if you're gonna do something like that where you do one per box or one per case or something like I, I take it, have your SSPs and roll
Yeah.
with it. It's like
Yep.
the fight nights in Topps Chrome. Like I love the fight nights in Topps Chrome, and
Hmm.
they're one for every 144 boxes or something like that. And they're great. They're great. Now, if Topps just comes out and starts putting fight nights as just a regular old
Exactly.
insert, I would be pissed. Like,
Ruin it.
yeah, don't do that. They're special. Keep it special.
Yep, continuity is important with the different parallel runs, especially the short print. All right, we got Gaethje versus Holloway, the BMF, the really the one of the fan favorites. I mean, it's got to be one of the most exciting fights on the card that people are stoked for.
Hmm.
Gaethje at -175, Holloway at +150, I believe is what I found.
Hmm.
What's your thoughts?
I flipped on this one. When we were making picks for this, which we'll do more extended picks for our next episode, which will probably come out tomorrow. Uh, I initially picked Max. He's the greatest boxer in the world, as he, according
Mhm.
to him. Uh, and he doesn't really get rocked. So he has really great distance management. He's gonna move around the cage a lot. Gaethje will have to chase him while getting peppered with shots, which is not something that Gaethje's necessarily used to. And Max is just more well-rounded. Max, though, could eat a lot of leg kicks. I think that Gaethje's leg kicks are a disaster piece for
Mhm.
anyone who has to absorb them. And there was a recent interview with Max where he was coughing and
Oh,
sniffling,
when was this?
and like 3 days ago. And
Uh-oh.
he was coughing, he was chugging water, he sounded raspy, he was blowing his nose. Like the dude is either getting over being sick or is sick. So for me, I think he's going to be really slowed down.
Mm.
And so I am flipping to Gaethje, and I don't necessarily know if this is going to get finished. I would love to see an awesome highlight reel knockout so that Justin can live up to his nickname. But I think that this could go to decision for Gaethje. So I really think that if you're betting on this fight, take an over on fantasy score because he's going to accumulate a lot of points. And maybe even take an over on significant strikes if you can find an under, I would say under 80. Like if you see something that's like, hey, 80 significant strikes, pick the over on that. But if it
Mhm.
gets higher than that, probably stay away because Max is going to throw two and Gaethje's going to have to defend.
Yeah, this is an interesting one stylistically, because both guys love to stand up. I would assume this is not we're not going to see much grappling or wrestling in this one. Obviously, you got
Hmm.
to give the power advantage to Gaethje, right? I mean, he hits like a truck. Range, maybe like peppered shots, jabs. I mean, Gaethje's got a good jab too, and you got Whitman in his corner who loves, and he's really good at coaching his fighters to throw jabs. But
Yeah.
maybe with the more rangy, pepper shots, maybe you go Holloway. I love
Hmm.
that you mentioned the leg kicks because we saw Volk absolutely destroy Max's legs a few times when they fought, and I
Hmm.
completely agree that that is going to be a huge weapon. I think in the pocket, kind of a toss up between these guys. But I think the IQ of Gaethje has gotten so much better in these maybe last 2 or 3 fights that I do see him going ahead and taking this one. And is
Hmm.
this the fight where we finally see Max crumble? Is his chin gone or after this fight?
If he gets put out, this is the fight that probably cleans his clock and washes Max Holloway. If he gets put out in this fight, this is the beginning of the end. And
I
that's
mean,
okay. He's older.
yeah, he's got
He's
a
already,
great run, great run.
yep, yep. Hall of Famer all the way through and through. But Justin Gaethje could end his career the same way he ended Ferguson's.
Yeah, man. Just too tough for their own good, right?
Hmm.
That's kind of how I think it's going to play out. I don't know if it's going to be. I just feel like Gaethje's a little bit better at this moment in time, and Max moving up. Will that affect his gas tank, his quickness? You mentioned he may be sick. Oh, I hate hearing that because I really, I hope
Hmm.
that they're at their peak. But yeah, that's a
Yeah.
big issue as well.
Yeah, and the last time he went up was short notice, 10 days to
Hmm.
fight Dustin Poirier, and he
Yep,
lost by decision.
that was a great fight, close
So
fight too.
it's a great fight. So giving him the time to put that weight on
Hmm.
appropriately makes him a really good threat for Gaethje. But yeah, I think he's sick. I think he's sick.
Not much you can do about that when you're sick. You got any
Nope.
cards? You got any of these guys' cards? Two real big names.
Oh man, I have one of the gold what are they called? The big ones. They just in the new Tops Chrome. Uh the big headshot of them. They're not super giants. But I have one of
Oh, the
those.
54, the old school one,
Yes,
1954.
I have a 54 gold Max and I have a 54 gold Robbie Lawler, which I really like. Those are both awesome cards. And Gaethje, I have like one or two of his autos just from random chance. He signs a lot.
Yeah,
So yeah, I really like his disco auto. And I have a select disco auto. That's one of my favorites.
nice. I don't have much of these guys. I gave Damien at UFC Card Talk. He PCs Max Holloway, so I shipped him out a nice Max Holloway that I had, and then DGen Rips, another big card YouTuber. I sent him a rookie of Gaethje. So I kind of
Nice.
I'm trying to kind of get rid of some cards, and they were kind of not too expensive. So I was like, let me spread these to people who would appreciate them more. But I don't really have any of those guys.
Yeah, I
Um,
love
uh,
it.
we got the women's title here for strawweight. We got Weili versus Yan Jianan. Zhang is -500. Yan was plus 380. That's pretty decisive. Do you think it's going to go that way?
Yeah, yeah, I do, and I love that it's a China versus China championship. I think that that's great. I mean, I wish they put this on a card in China,
Yeah, that'd be
but
crazy.
I get it. I get it. Put it on this card. Somewhat has the makings of a Wei Li, uh, Joanna Jędrzejczyk like UFC fight. This could be women's fight of the century
Mhm.
if Jan is putting it on. But I think this has Zhang Weili written all over it, and I think it's going to be her wrestling. I think
Yep.
the appropriate pick to make if you're betting on this fight is over 3 takedowns from Zhang, and under on significant strikes for whatever they have for Yan. But this to me is a clear victory for Zhang Weili.
Yeah, I
And I
was
love her tools of the trade cards. That's what I have. I have one or two
yeah,
of them. Her tools of the trade are dope.
nice. Yeah, I agree. I think the wrestling is going to be a huge factor here. I was watching Mackenzie Dern versus Jan, and I was thinking back to that fight, and I'm like, man, if Yanan fights like that, Weili's going to absolutely mop the floor with her.
Yep.
I am kind of biased because Weili's been my favorite female fighter since that JJ fight where JJ's head absolutely ballooned up. So I've really been rooting for her for a while now, and I think she's explosive. She's fun, especially for a women's fighter that's not necessarily known for knockouts or explosion, but she's incredibly athletic and she's super well rounded too. And I think she wrestles a ton in this matchup. And I would, if I was going to guess on a finish, I think it gets finished with a ground and pound in this one.
Hmm. Yep.
Um, Interesting tidbit that this division has only been around for 10 years. I didn't realize it was that recent, which is
Yeah.
crazy to me because this is, have been a super exciting division since it was, incepted, but kind of an interesting history of the sport where it just reminded me of how young this sport is, dude. We're still just at the infancy.
Yeah. Considering that the UFC is 30 years old now, 31, and it's only been around for a third at a time. It doesn't feel like it, and there's
Hmm.
been so many good champions. I mean, you have Joanna, you have Rose. Like, there's a
Yep.
lot of people out there that love Rose, and I'm not gonna throw shade at Carla Esparza. Like, she knew how to win, so she won that way.
Hmm.
Um, but Zhang, I think, is exciting. So, and she's incredibly technical. She's just great to watch. So, I like having her at the top, and I hope she stays there for a while.
Yeah, me as well. Man, I don't know if she stays here much longer. I think if she wins tonight, she'll be a six-time champion in the weight class. I think maybe she fights Suarez. If she beats
Yeah.
Suarez, you got to move up because there's nothing else in this division for her. She will have basically beat every single person that she should have beat. And then maybe we get a super fight, which would be pretty sick. So that's kind
Yep.
of, if I was going to crystal ball it, that's how I would hope it goes for Wei Li because, to be a champion in 115 and 125 would be, I think that would put her in the category of like maybe one of the best of all time.
Totally agree. Love it.
All right, we got the main event, the big one, and some people were dogging this matchup, and I was like, "What are you guys talking about?" Now, granted, the
Yeah.
UFC like hyped it up crazy, but to me, this is an amazing fight. We've got Poatan versus Jamal Hill. Jamal Hill's making his return. He's a fellow Achilles rupture guy, so I got a soft spot in my heart for Hill. It was negative 135 Poatan plus 114 for Hill. What are your thoughts on this?
We all agreed on the Pretty Neat podcast during our last discussion that we all think Pereira's going to win this fight. Um, this is appropriately set up for betting, though. Like, this is Jamal Hill has the power. I mean, look what he did to Johnny Walker. Not comparing Johnny Walker to Alex Pereira's in terms of
Yeah.
like skill, but to hit somebody square in the center of the face
Hmm.
and knock them out with that
It's like
is
the hardest spot of the skull too,
that's the
right? Right.
hardest
Uh-huh.
spot of the skull. You have the most padding there of anywhere else on your head, and it sent the guy into the shadow realm, as people say. So power wise, nobody has fought Alex Pereira that can hit him that hard just with a straight punch. So Jamal Hill, I think, is getting shat on a little bit
Hmm.
um, by not being. It's a coin flip, but the fact that they're not both minus money is surprising to me. So I really think Jamal Hill can finish Alex Pereira. Israel Adesanya knocked out
Yep.
Alex Pereira like with two shots. So it can happen that he gets hit hard enough that it puts him down or in the right space and it puts him down. The only question I have, and the reason I think I lean towards Alex Pereira, is that tear and his recovery. They were going to fight next month at UFC 301, and they pushed it up. They
Hmm.
moved it up. It cut his recovery time, pushed him right into camp, and I just hope it was enough time. I do think that Jamal Hill's social media is so much more playful than Alex Pereira. So I hope he's relaxed about it. I think if he goes in there with an attitude of nothing to lose, that it adds to him because he really doesn't have anything to lose. He doesn't have the fan base he deserves. So if he loses, he's not losing anything. And if he wins, I think it skyrockets him. And I think that he will be the card to get if he's able to finish Alex Pereira, and I think that he could. But really, we all I have the concern about his recovery, and Alex Pereira is so much more technical. And if Jamal Hill misses a shot, Alex Pereira is going to counter with that left hook that he throws, and it's deadly for anybody. So give me Alex Pereira.
Nice. Yeah, man. This was a tough one. I flopped two times on this one, and my thought process was initially that the Potan is incredibly gifted with his kicks, especially with his low leg kicks and his kicks to the thigh. And I was worried about Jamal's Achilles. Sometimes with this injury you do have atrophy in the leg, so I was worried about maybe it's going to be more compromised. It's not going to be able to take the damage that Potan will be able to put out. But then I was thinking about the inside boxing of Hill, and what has given Poatan problems has been when he's inside. And we saw it with Izzy. And I think that's what Jamal's going to look to do here is I think he's going to look to push inside. He's going to look to try and get inside the bubble and stay away from all the rangy weapons that Alex has. These guys are really similar in height and length. And you know, if I was going to give the power advantage, as crazy as it sounds, it might be to Jamal, but that's really close as well. Defensively, I think Hill is better. I think,
Hmm.
I mean, Pereira gets hit a lot. His hands are kind of low. His chin is high sometimes when he's striking. But again, dude, that Achilles injury, man, like again, if this was 1 or 2 months from now, I would pick Hill. But because if you're we saw Cam Akers come back at 6 months after this injury. That's the fastest anyone's ever done it. So if Jamal was 100% around 5 months, that gives him, 4 months to try and get his skill, his cardio, his timing, everything back to 100%. I just don't know if this is quite enough time for that. So I would probably pick Potan in this fight. But
Hmm.
should be a fun one, should be close.
Yeah, yep. I think it will be. I think it will be. And I think if it is a fun one, then both of them get all the cards you can. You know, really. I mean, Alex Pereira, we already know his cards are very cool. I love his signature, just Poetan. Like,
Mhm.
I think that that's fun. And uh Jamal Hill was a rookie, I think, what, last year or the year before, like nearly as champion.
Yeah.
He was basically a rookie still. So yeah, I think get all the cards you can of both of these guys because if they put on an amazing show, it really could be like a fight of the year, and deservedly so. So exciting. I'm hopeful for Jamal. But man, this is people shouldn't have gotten all upset about this being the main event. He never lost the belt. You know,
Yeah,
he
this is
got
crazy.
injured. He got injured. He appropriately surrendered the belt,
Hmm.
and was tearful doing that. Like he wanted to be and maintain his championship status. So I think that I would love to see him step into that spot again and be the champ.
Yeah, agreed. One other thing I forgot to mention. I mean, Jamal fought Glover not too long ago, and they went
Hmm.
5 rounds. That is a lot of feedback and game film for Glover to give to his, student of Potan, and I think that's a huge, huge advantage.
It's a good advantage.
Um, so we got the tops buyback with these two guys. I've never experienced this. If you
Hmm.
get a base card, if you get whatever cards, you can actually take it to specific hobby shops and get money back. That's pretty cool. What do you have
Hmm.
any of those for these guys?
I don't for these guys as of now. I would love to maybe get my hands on a couple in the next day or two.
Mhm.
Um, Free shout out to Kenny's Collectibles
Yep.
down in South Austin. They're one of the buyback shops, if I recall correctly. And Kenny's a good dude. Always has stock. Like this was okay. Always is maybe a strong term, but like 9 out of 10 times I go, he's got several of multiple boxes of UFC, and is always willing to make good deals. But man, I didn't get my hands on anything, but I think it's cool that they do that. I do. I think it's fun. It adds a little extra layer, and will keep me buying more cards.
Yeah, we got a Pereira, we got a Alex base card. So if he does win it, I kind of want to experience that and see what that's like. So you just bring the card in, you give it to Kenny, and then he gives you $20 store credit, and I can just buy, whatever I want from there. So it's a win for the card shops too.
Yeah, buy a box of 2022 Prism Blaster.
Yeah, right. It's free.
Traded it.
It's free.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, cool. Thanks for coming on, man. This was great. I would like to do this more in the future. The
Yeah.
last one that we did, I was just kind of getting into the live interview feel and process. I think I got some things ironed out a little bit better now, so I think this is more doable. Maybe have you back on for 301, and hopefully we don't jinx this card and blow it up like last time.
Yeah, hopefully not. Either way, it is UFC 300 and that's
Mhm.
so cool. So I would love to. Yeah, we'll connect more and have a good time.